Hi, Jorgelina. It's Margie with Basmati. How are you?
Good. How are you, Margie?
I'm perfect, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to sit with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. It's my pleasure. Today we're speaking with Jorgelina Zeoli with jorgelinazeoli.com, and that is JORGELINAZEOLI.com.
Actually, it's Z-E-O-L-I.
Oh, ZEO. Yes. Thank you. Today she's going to share with us a little bit about her work, and she's amazing with trauma, grief, and recovery. Her spiritual work is extremely healing and powerful. She uses humor, poetry, art, and music to help with her inner child and help with others. So, Jorgelina, let's just share a little bit about how this all comes together.
Okay. Well, I have had a life filled with tragedy, a tremendous amount of suffering. And I chose never to take medications. I spent decades in psychotherapy, and I felt I was going in circles. I was not finding my way out. The therapy helped tremendously, but it reached a point where my spiritual journey blossomed. And it was only then, that was the turning point. That was the point when spirituality became really strong, that the real healing process began for me through the integration of psychotherapy and spirituality. And it happened in a pretty dramatic way. I was literally down on my knees. I was consumed by suicidal impulses. I was out of control, writing flashbacks of my life, military violence, childhood trauma, psychotic mother, jumping from one tragedy to the other. I was pieces. I was just shattered pieces. And as I was pouring my life story through writing, something unusual happened, but I thought it was my creativity, which was this voice came in through writing and started saying funny things that would make me laugh. And I went with it. So I was spending time in my agony, and this voice would come in and make me laugh. So I was shifting back from my agony to a world of laughter. Eventually, I realized I was being shifted to a magical world in which eventually I realized my inner child was beginning to speak. And in that world, there was a presence. I began feeling this loving presence inside me that eventually became, through my drawings, became a puffy creature, a benevolent friend that I chose to call God, because those conversations in that magical world, through months of going in and out of my agonizing memories, it pulled me out of my suicidal impulses without ever taking medication. So it became very clear in time that I am more than my emotions. For decades, I thought I was my emotions. It became clear that my emotions were only a piece of me, and that I was something much bigger than that, which was a spiritual piece. In my case, the process I went through with these conversations is similar to what Donald Neil Walsh went through writing his conversations with God.
Yeah.
These are also conversations with God, different topic, inner child topic, but same process of being consumed by writing. This happened through years for me. I had to tell my whole story, and it seemed that this presence in me was with me as I told my story. Right now, 15 years later, after having written 18 books, self-published 18 books, and I have 5 more that still need to be published, the writing has subsided. It's like I have said pretty much all I need to say. So I'm just wrapping up my writing. And when I do the wrapping up, I still need pieces of writing, and that presence in me comes back. It's like I am writing in collaboration with some higher being. And the experience of when this whole process took place, I felt I was not alone anymore. Part of my agony had been to feel so alone, going through so many horrible experiences and painful experiences. And when this magical world opened up, I was no longer alone. And a lot of what happened in these conversations wasn't just humor. The laughter was definitely healing.
Yeah.
Going from tears through laughter was definitely healing. But there was also a comforting presence. So eventually when I started doing the drawings for the books, there was a lot of a little child being held in this big mothering figure holding me.
Yeah.
I chose to call God He just because I needed a word. My spiritual experience is much broader than that. That's only one aspect of it. My perception of God universe is that it's consciousness. It's not a separate entity. It's not, has no gender. But one piece was this connecting with this loving presence inside me. So when I realized after a few months of writing, I realized this is not just journal writing for my own healing. This is a story that needs to get out there, because people that have gone through what I've gone through, my story is unique because every story is unique, but it belongs to different populations. The population of abandoned children, the population of those affected by military violence, whether they be the actual soldiers in battle and their families. Everyone gets affected by this horror. At this point, I'm starting to shake because that topic is very hard for me. So give me a second, Margie, to move out of this. Bottom line, this can reach many different populations. I produced a couple of movies. One is called Over the Mass Grave, God Among Us, which it won a couple of awards. It was aired in TV. I think it's unique in that presents my flashbacks of military violence in Argentina, intertwined with humor, with hope, with healing. The hope of flashbacks can go away. My flashbacks are gone.
Yeah.
And I had horrible flashbacks of all kinds. They are gone because of this connection with a higher reality. So I think the umbrella of all the different topics I address of trauma is bringing in a higher reality into the horror of the human experience. And when a higher reality, a higher frequency comes in, there's what my experience has been is a transmutation inside me of the experience of pain and hopelessness and despair shifting into the higher frequencies of feeling comforted, being held, feeling loved, and then the growth of something called faith, that for me is faith of being guided and protected. I have looked at death in the face a few times, and I have survived. And when I look back at my life, right now I'm 66, so I've gone through a lot. And as I look at the times I could have died and didn't, at the way I have survived time and time again, I can see a pattern of, I feel I was guided and protected. And so now I just sit on that. Right now I'm recovering from a head injury, from a bad accident, and I can barely function. But I hold this faith. I still feel guided. Things happening in my life, like your call, Margie, it comes right from this sequence of miracles that I feel my life is. So I know I'm going all over the place.
No, it's perfect. You're sharing like the journey of being human on this earth, and that healing really can happen. And it's that connection to whatever you want to call it, the other reality, the divine God, that empowers us and gives us faith. And with that, and teachers out there like you writing books and creating awareness of that, we truly can heal.
That's right. Healing is absolutely possible.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that you want to stop right now, Margie?
No, you're okay. You can keep going if you'd like. Yeah.
Okay. The path is unique for each person. Mm-hmm. I have tried different modalities for people who reject God, because there are many people who hate God. Yeah. And I was one of them. Actually, my turning point was when I told God that I hated him. Actually, my therapist told me, talk to God, Jorgelina, and I said, I'm not talking to that guy. I'm so angry, I'm giving him the silent treatment. I was just so angry. And it came out as I was doing journal writing. I said, how could you, God? How could you do this to me? How could you let the heart of a child be broken in a million pieces over and over and over again? I hate you. And I wrote, I hate you, I don't know how many times, in larger and larger font, because that hatred needed to come out. And when that happened, it was this blackness that left my system, that was stuck in there. It was black energy stuck in my system. And when it came out, I went through this stage of feeling I was madly in love with God. I was madly in love with this presence in me that was holding me as I was going through this process. And one of my conversations, and this is the little me saying, God, yes. Mm-hmm, yes. And I said, I'm in love with you. And he says, I'm in love with you too, little one. And I say, you don't mind I'm kind of bossy, do you? And he says, I love you just the way you are, Jay. Well, that's a good thing to know. Yes, little one, that's a very good thing for you to know. And these conversations would just unfold, and there would be this, somehow there was a lot of nonsense, but then the message was there. That I don't need to be different than I am to be loved by this higher reality. The love is there. So I produced a couple of films. I used to have a lot of hope that this work would become a sequence of movies for the big screen that would intertwine this higher reality, again, with the human suffering, and produce this transmutation of energy from hopelessness to hope, from helplessness to empowerment. All of this is contained in my books. But I am just one little person, and there's only so much I can do. So I'm just waiting for a producer to show up and want to turn all these books into movies that will transmute the negative energy of so many people that are needing it. There's so much need for hope. So I know I've gone everywhere, all over the place.
You're okay. Yeah, you're okay. You know, it's you may be one little person, but the ripple effect from you healing and doing the self-healing yourself and what that does for the overall consciousness, and you know this, is expansive. And that, just your story alone, gives hope for someone else. And I trust and have faith in that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Jorgelina, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And I know we will do this again sometime.
Okay. Thank you, Margie, for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.